All right, welcome back, shoppers. This is a tutorial on Photoshop 6, remove and replace the subject. So what are we doing in this project? We're going to get our project ready. We're going to find an initial image that we're going to play with. We're going to duplicate that as a separate layer that we're going to work on. And I'm going to show you a little bit about some zooming tools and some hand tools that you can use to be able to move around in a zoomed environment. And then I'm going to show you how to use the clone stamp tool, which is all about copying and pasting in a very, very specific area of an image. And that's what the clone stamp tool is all about. After we're done using this clone stamp tool, we're going to add a character to our picture. So basically, we're taking a character off of a background, and then we're replacing it with a different character. After you're done with this, you're going to want to put on before and after text, so that way you can see a before and after section here. All right, guys, hey, I'm recording a tutorial. Hey. Thank you. All right, so let's get into this here. Let's check out what our project is and how it starts off. All right, so let's take a look at this actual assignment so we can see what you're getting graded on and what exactly is it that we're looking to do here. If we look at these examples, you'll see exactly what we're trying to do here. So this is a 35-point project. You're basically trying to remove a subject from a photo by making a duplicate of a layer and then using the clone stamp tool to make the background copy and paste over the top of the subject. Then using masking tools, you're going to put something else near that subject's place. You're going to want to try to be convincing as far as making the person disappear, the original subject. You want to try to make that scene appear natural. So here we can see some examples of what this project should look like. Here's a before right here where you can see there's a person in a forest here. And then after we're finished, that person has been removed from the background. And basically the background has been copied over that person. And then you put another character in their place. So here we have a Mario. Over here, the same deal. You can see there's a person here in the desert. And then after they're taken out, you'll see that there's nothing there. And instead, there are other characters put over their place. Over here on the right-hand side, you'll see that there's yet another example. Here's the before picture of a baby or a toddler walking a dog on a beach. And we replace that child with a person who's apparently skipping along the beach there with the dog instead. So there you go. This is basically what we're going to try to achieve. Your idea is you're going to remove somebody from the background of a picture, and you're going to replace them with a different person. So this is what you see, the before and after of each one of these shots. I've got a before here where there's a person, and then you take that person out and replace them with somebody else. And the same thing over here. We've got this person here, and they get removed and replaced with somebody else. So that's what our project is all about. Let's set off on how do we do this exactly. Well, first we need to find an image that we're going to use to remove somebody from. So we're going to just do a Google search for a image that we can use. I searched for a person on a mountain. That's what I searched for here. And I just tried to pick something that worked out pretty good. You can pick your own image, of course. I've already found one that I'm going to use. I'm going to try to use this one right here. So I'm just going to right-click on this image and go into Copy Image. And now I have that image in my clipboard, and it's ready for me to manipulate in Photoshop. I'm going to open up Photoshop. I'm going to go up to File, and I'm going to create a new project up here. So I'm going to go to File and New. And what size does it have to be? Well, actually, for this project, you don't need to print it out or anything like that. In fact, if you've already copied the image from the internet, you can use the clipboard size, because the clipboard size is actually going to be the exact size of the image that you copied. So right here, because I copied first, if I choose to make my document size the clipboard size, then it will be the exact size of that picture that I saved. So I'm just going to use that. I'm going to press Control V, and here we go. We were already ready. We've got the image in here, and it's the exact size that the image originally was. All right, so the first step for this is we basically have to duplicate this layer. We don't want to work on the original layer because then we could potentially destroy it. We could potentially lose information. So step one is I'm going to rename my layer over here down on the bottom right, and I'm also going to duplicate it. So first things first, I'm going to double click over here on the name, and I'm going to call this original. This is the original. And if I want to, I can make a copy of the original by pressing Control J or right-clicking on this and going up to where it says Duplicate Layer. Whoops, sorry about that. Right-click on the layer and go up to Duplicate Layer, which is over here towards the top. You can choose that, or if you want, you can press Control-J, which does the same thing. When you press Control-J or you duplicate the layer, you should see that it comes out as original copy here. If you wanted to rename it, I'm going to go ahead and rename that. I'm going to call it Removed. There we go. All right, so now I have my secondary layer and my main layer, so I have a before and after. I'm going to go to the top layer here, the one that I want to remove with. I'm going to start working on this layer. Now, the first thing you got to know is that the way that we're going to do this is by copying and pasting from a very specific area of the image here. And to do that, we're using a tool called the Clone Stamp tool. The Clone Stamp tool is up here in the top left. It's right in between the two brushes that you see here. So there's a paintbrush tool and there's the history brush tool, which basically lets you go back in time in a certain area of the image. We'll talk about this later, but in between these two brushes, we have the Clone Stamp tool. If you click on the Clone Stamp tool, you'll see that it's just like a brush. It's basically, you can change the sizes just like you would with the regular brush. You could actually right-click and you can change the type of brush it is. It's just like a brush, except it has a very specific function, and that is to copy and paste from a specific area. So right now, if I hover over this guy, this person on the mountain right here, and I hold down Alt on my keyboard, if you hold down Alt on the keyboard, you're going to see that your cursor becomes a crosshair instead of the circle that it once was. When you're holding down Alt, you're basically telling the computer, this is where I want to sample from, or this is what I want to copy from. This is the location of the image that I want to copy from. So if I click on the guy right here, while I have Alt held down, it knows that I want to copy from that spot, right where I clicked. Now if I let go of Alt and I move my cursor, you're going to see that actually it shows that the pixel information from where I just copied is going to show up over here on the side. It's going to follow along with my brush. Basically, I copied from this spot, and now when I move my brush somewhere else, I'm pasting from that spot. And I can still choose the size of my brush. I can make it bigger or smaller to make it fill in more clearly, or I can be more precise by making it smaller. Now, my suggestion is that when you do this, you don't just click and drag. My suggestion is that you click and you just make rapid single clicks. It's the best way to usually use the Clone Stamp tool. If I just click once, you can see that it has already started taking that character and putting it over here. Now, you'll notice that if I move my character here, you can still see that it's going to copy from that same spot. Why is that? Or it's going to copy from over on the left around the same region over there. Why is that? Well, when I click and I drag after I have an area copied or selected with the tool, you'll see over on the left there's a little crosshair, a white cross that shows you where you're copying from. And you'll notice that as I move my cursor, that just follows around relative to the distance that I originally had my copied spot. So basically, it's going to be about the same distance away to the left every time that I move my cursor here. You can see that that is happening right now. It's basically just copying over exactly what I put here. However, our goal is not to copy a person twice. Our goal is to take somebody out of the picture. So to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to zoom in. We're going to use some zooming tools to be able to zoom in pretty close. And we're going to take the surrounding areas from your subject and copy them and paste them over the person. That's what we're trying to shoot for here. Now you're going to notice in this particular case, there's some horizontal lines right here. The sunset is making these horizontal lines. So I'm going to try to make it to where those lines match up when I copy and paste to where you can't tell that there was a person here. First things first, though, let's talk about some zooming tools that are very useful. If you hold down the Alt key on your keyboard while you use the mouse wheel and you scroll in or out, that's how you can zoom in and out in Photoshop. And you'll notice if you zoom in far enough, you'll actually see the pixels here of each of the image. It gets really zoomed in. So you can get really, really close, or you can back up, depending on how useful or how much space you need to see. Now, once you zoom in, it might be irritating because it's difficult for you to be able to move around the canvas. So a tool that we use once we're zoomed in, if you hold down the space bar, you'll see that your cursor becomes a hand. And then if you click while you're holding down the space bar, you're basically grabbing that image so you can move it around. So you just hold down the mouse button, you hold down the space bar and you click, and then if you drag around the mouse, you'll see that you can move that image around. So this is a way for us to be able to zoom in on an image and get some detail work done. Be able to zoom in really close and be able to make any details as clear and crisp as you can. A lot of times people can't even tell if you manipulate a photo if you do it right. So let's talk about how we're going to do this. First things first, you'll notice that this person has behind them, there's different shades of clouds here. We've got these rocks here on the bottom, and there's kind of light purple clouds down here, and then there's like a bright orange section here, and then there's a slightly darker gray purple area up here. So when I copy and paste, I want to try to copy from the same color that is going to happen in the background here. So right here, I'm going to hold down Alt and click up here in this area right next to his head. And then I'm just going to move over to the right a little bit. I'm going to click a few times, and you can see that cross is saying this is where we're taking the information from. So if I move down here, we can see, all right, this is pretty good. You can tell a little bit that there's a little bit of weird looking fuzz right here. So I'm just going to go over here and take from this area, and I'm going to try to go over that area. Basically, you want to try to copy and paste from different areas so it makes it really difficult for somebody to tell that there was something there. If you copied and pasted from the same area the whole time, then it'll be fairly obvious. But if you hold down Alt and you sample from different areas, it makes it really difficult to tell that there was once something here. So here you can see I'm taking from the left side, and then over here I'm going to adjust the size of my brush. Hold down Alt and click on the area that you want to copy from. Then you move over to the area that you're going to copy to, and just click a few times. I wouldn't suggest clicking and dragging. Don't try to take the whole thing out at once because it'll probably be way more obvious. What you want to do is just take one area. I'm going to take this information here, and I'm going to paste it over here. I'm just going to click a few times, and then I'm going to move to another area and grab another set here. So really the key to this is that you want to grab color information in the background that matches with what should be behind the person. And sometimes this is hard to do depending on the picture that you chose originally. It can be difficult to find the kind of stuff that you need. So you kind of have to get creative sometimes about thinking about how can I take pieces of the background of this photo and add them to this photo to make it look good. So I have a little bit more here with the clouds. I'm going to take this information here and just take that. There we go. So this is a little bit brighter on this side. I might want to take some of this. There we go. And as you just continue to do this process, you should be able to take the person completely out of the background. As you can see, I'm just doing the same thing, more of the same. Coming over here, taking from the darker side over here. And I'm going to put this on top of here. Now, as you continue doing this, you might have to do some touch-up and go over areas a second time with the background. The main key is that you just want to try to keep the background color similar. So right here, I can see it's a little bit darker. I might want to grab a slightly lighter spot from somewhere like up here and put this down. Let me see here, probably right here would be good. There we go. I want to try to make it to where you don't see any just like a silhouette of where a person was. You want to try to go through and clean it up as much as possible to make it look believable. All right, that's pretty good right there. At this point, the shading kind of changes for this, so let me see if I can grab something from over here. There we go, that's pretty good. And lastly, we have the feet down here. Now, when you get into doing rock work, stuff like this, where there's a hard edge of something, you typically want to be really careful with how you take this out. So let's see, how can I get this foot out of here? I could probably take this right here, if I take this rock. Now, you're going to want to line up the rock edge to work with where you're going to take out the information. So right here, I can see I can line up. I can actually use the brush to line up where the lines are going to be for this new rock formation that I'm putting in. So if I click right here, you can see that it's going to put that rock right in the correct spot, and that's taking that foot out of there. And I need to find something for my edge over here as well. Let me see if I can go find a rock from somewhere else that I might be able to use. I might be able to just zoom in real close and get this stuff out of here by zooming in. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to make my brush smaller. I'm going to try to just take it from right next to it here. All right, so we're about done here. In order to get this last part, I might have to change the hardness of my brush to make it to where it picks up only a really sharp edge. Usually you don't want to do this too much with the clone stamp tool because you're copying and pasting, so something that's a really hard edge can be easy to spot as far as if it's something that is fake. So when we do this, we typically want to do it after we have all the other information all done. So I'm going to go in here and see if I can finish this leg off here. It's pretty good right there. All right, so I've got most of this done. Now I just have to go in and clean it up a little bit. Might want to take this whole information over here and just kind of do a once over here. There we go. It's pretty good. So he's mostly gone, as you can see here. The person's gone. I have almost a little tornado looking effect here, so I'm going to work on this just a little bit more. But also I want to go down here and just clean up this last spot right here that's got a little bit of rock indentation. Let me see if I can get that out of there. I'm going to find some kind of rock that I can use on the other side. There we go. That looks pretty good. All right, so now the person is removed. And now the next step is we need to find somebody, a character to put into this to be the new subject. So I'm just going to go online and find a character here. You want Sonic the Hedgehog? All right. Let's find an image of Sonic the Hedgehog that I can put in here. Oh, this is good. I'll have him jumping over a rock. It's perfect. All right, so I'm going to copy this image. I'm going to go back into Photoshop and paste it in there. And as per our previous experiments or our previous lesson, we're going to rescale this using the Move tool. And then we're going to use our Magic Wand tool or our Quick Select tool, either way. Quick Selection tool over here in between the lasso and the crop tool. We're going to select the subject up here in the top left here. It should select that character. And then down here in the layers, we're going to click on the Create Layer Mask icon right here. And now this layer right here, which I'm going to label Sonic, is going to be popping out. There we go. So we took the background out, and I've got Sonic here. I'm going to make it to where it looks like he's jumping over the rocks here. There we go. Yeah, all right, I will. There we go. Perfect. All right, so now I have this image. The last thing for me to do is I just need to put some text on here. So I'm going to put an after right here. I'm just going to use the text tool. I'm pressing T over here on the side, or I'm pressing T on my my keyboard to use the text tool. I clicked and I typed what I wanted here. Now that I've typed it, I'm going to use the Move tool over here to resize it, make it nice and big so you can read it. There we go. And I also want to create a before layer. So I'm going to hide this one. I can give you a pass. Only one of you can go down at once, though. Sorry. You can take a pass down there. No, I can't let both of you go. Sorry. Stay together like a couple. Just take a pass. And each one of you can go down there, guys. Sorry. All right. So After I remove this mask here, we can see what the originals were. So here's the original. I'm going to make a text layer right here on top of the original. I'm going to call it before. And then I'll take the text layer and make it bigger here. So you can see it. This is the before layer. I'm going to go ahead and save this as a layer here. So I'm going to move it down underneath the removed one here. I'll actually group all of these together. I'll create 2 folder groups. This is going to be the before group. And I'll make another folder group. That'll be the after group, just so we can easily see the before and after sections. I'm going to move all of these layers into the after section. And I'll move all these layers into the before section. There we go. So now I have these two folder areas here. I've got my before section, which has all of my before stuff, my before text, and my original picture. And then in here in this folder, I have the after. Yeah, go ahead and sign in. Yeah. I have the after text, the new character that is placed on top of it, and the layer of the removed person on here as well, the original picture that has been edited. So let's check out what this looks like. Here's my before. I'm going to save this. I'm going to save it as a PS or a JPEG. I'm going to call this PS06 remove and replace. And this is the 4th version of this. This is the before picture. All right. And then I'm going to save a version of it after. So I'm going to hide this stuff, and instead I'm going to show this stuff. All right. So here's my after. All I did was I just made the layers visible, and I made them on top of the other layers, so that way they are there. If I hid my folder here, you would see that all those layers are here, but I'm just putting the other layers on top of it. That's really what's going on. That's why you don't see it. All right, so now I have my after layers here. I'm going to save this, and I'm going to save this as the after version. So it's going to be PS06, remove and replace after. Basically, you should have a JPEG of your before, a JPEG of your after, and then you just turn in a PSD that has all the information. So now that I have my, my 2 JPEGs out of the way, I'm going to go up here to File and Save As, and I'm going to save this as a Photoshop document as well. So what is it called? Remove and replace 4. All right, so you should have a PSD of your assignment that has all the layers, so all the layer information should be included down here. And then you should have 2 JPEGs, one of the before picture and one of the after picture. All right, I hope you have fun with this project. And now you know how to convincingly take objects out of an image, and you know how to replace them with something else. I hope you have fun with this, and I can't wait to see what you come up with. Farewell.